Today I'm going to give you a few reasons why everyone should learn another language. Maybe your first language is English, and because it's the second most common language in the world, you probably don't feel the need to learn another language than English. You can travel and get by. I don't really blame English speakers for not feeling the need to learn another language. It does take discipline and a lot of time and patience to learn a new language, a new foreign language that has nothing to do with your mother tongue. And maybe your first language is French or Spanish or German or Swahili or Arabic. Learning English was a good choice for a second language to learn because English is the language of business. It's the language that most people around the world learn because English lets you speak to so many people at the same time with one single language. So the first obvious reason that many people know is how there are many cognitive benefits to learning other languages. There are countless studies that show how it improves memory, attention span, and reduced risk of age-related and brain-related diseases. It also means that you're training your ear, so you're better at music, you're better at playing by ear, you're better at imitating accents and learning more and more languages each time. Now, the most important reason in my eyes is getting deeper connections with people from other cultures. I remember traveling in San Marcos La Laguna, a Mayan village in Guatemala, and hearing the Mayans speak together in Kaqchikel, which is a Mayan indigenous language. I remember just looking at them, like laughing together and speaking this unintelligible language with, combinations of consonants and vowels that I've never heard and many foreign sounds, which made no sense to me. In that moment, I realized that it is not essential to learn a language that's common or that would be practical to learn, because it's about establishing those deeper heart connections with local people when traveling or even in your multicultural country. If you rely on speaking English constantly, even if it's just to order food or haggling at a market, you will definitely miss out on an authentic experience. I'm not saying you can't have a meaningful connection with someone, just saying that it goes to a whole other level. Why, you ask? I feel like this quote by Nelson Mandela says it all. If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. This, I feel, is the very core of why it's so important to learn other languages. Not all the languages in the world, but a language that sticks out to you more, a language that speaks to you on a deeper level. Common languages are a beautiful thing. When we can speak English together, it's a quick way to make a connection with another human being. So by no means am I saying that you aren't creating true deep connections with someone because you're speaking English together or any other common language. And when I was traveling in Latin America, I went to 8 countries, and in those 8 countries, I was always speaking Spanish with the people. Even though in Peru, there were Quechua people. And in Guatemala and in Mexico, there were some Mayan people of many different tribes with their own indigenous language. I didn't take the time to learn that language. I only spoke to them in Spanish because I knew they spoke Spanish. However, their mother tongue is their indigenous Mayan language. So if I wanted to speak to their heart, while speaking to them in Tzotzil or Kaqchikel, then I think I would have had a more authentic experience with them, because Spanish is their second language. I can already hear you asking, so if I speak in their language, then I'm not speaking in my own mother tongue. How authentic is this relationship really? And to this I say, we are discussing of exterior connections, new connections that you can make by learning another language. So yes, it is a different type of relationship, but I think it's good to step outside of yourself and learn about other people. The next reason why it's important to learn another language is that by staying inside your bubble, you are limiting your perspectives, narrowing your mind, and by being able to converse with someone else in their mother tongue, you're able to get a different outlook on life and even on your own culture. It's kind of like seeing your house from the outside for the very first time. Imagine staying inside that house your entire life. You only see the inside of the house. But if you step outside of the house and you look at the house from the outside perspective, then you're seeing it even clearer than before. It enables you to gain a more profound understanding of your culture. Native English speakers who learn a second language is a rarity, and we will not hide that. I have met many English speakers who do learn another language. Also, a little added bonus, by speaking someone else's mother tongue, you will most likely get a better price when buying something just like fruit and vegetables in the market or artisanal handicraft. Because if you're constantly speaking to someone in English, you will come off as the obvious tourist. If you want to get the local price, then you should speak their mother tongue. I have personally experienced this in Latin America, speaking Spanish to them, versus when I looked on the other side, an English speaker speaking to them in English, they got a higher price than what I got. Another reason why it's important to learn another language is that it can be your first step towards not caring what other people think of you. When I was learning German in university, I was kind of panicking whenever I was speaking German to a native German speaker. I was afraid they would think I sounded so idiotic. Yet, whenever I did, they loved it. They were so glad to see that I actually studied their mother tongue and I was making an effort to connect with them at this deep level. So putting yourself out there like that and speaking a language that you don't necessarily master yet, and accepting that you're not perfect yet, can be applicable in other contexts in your life. This is also one of the most important reasons for me personally, and it's whenever you want to read a book or watch a movie or listen to music in the original language. Learning another language can help you grasp all the different nuances of a book or a movie or music in their original languages. I realized this when I was trying to translate an Arabic song to a friend, and I could not make my friend grasp the richness and the nuance of this song. My personal dream would be to learn Chinese in order to read the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu in original Chinese, even though it's the seal script, classical Chinese. Whenever you look up the translation for lyrics or a book or a movie, well, you're not really reading the actual story, the original story. I feel like you're only getting the gist of it, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying you should feel bad every time you watch or read something in another language than the original language, but I want to remind you that when you do, you're missing a lot of the context and detail. I always remind myself that the author or the writer has chosen each word so carefully, and by translating it, well, you're losing that special, magic, authentic touch. And finally, studying a foreign language teaches us and encourages us to have more respect for people that are different. There is an interrelation between language and human nature. So when you learn the language of these people, you have a better understanding of that culture through the language.
Want to thank somebody, if you want to show your gratitude towards them or say nice to meet you, I could say, well, I know how to say thank you in Farsi, I speak Farsi. Maybe not though. In fact, I've often heard this phrase when I talk with Iranians, "Qurbanit beram," which literally means... So again, it's poetic, you might call it melodramatic, but this is something you really have to understand the culture to get.
Learning a language leads you to being more tolerant and compassionate by expanding your view of the world. You appreciate cultural diversity more, and it brings forward a more positive attitude and less prejudice towards people who are from different cultures than you. All in all, you're less confined and narrow-minded.
But there's a real tie between language and culture. There's so much language can tell you about one culture's mindset. And in fact, on planet Earth, every 2 weeks, another language dies. No more people are speaking it. Because of war, because of famine, oftentimes just because of assimilation. Maybe it's easier for me not to speak my village language, or maybe I'm from a tribe in the Amazon, my habitat is cut down, and it just makes more sense for me to learn Portuguese and lose my culture. That means the death of their language, the death of their mythology, their history, their folklore, their understanding of the world. Now again, you brushing up on your Spanish, going to Japanese class, is not going to stop language death. But what it does do is begin to open up your mind to the idea that language, in essence, represents a cultural worldview. And if I can impart you with anything today at TEDxTeen, it's this. You can translate words easily, but you can't quite translate meaning. Thank you.
And that is it. I hope this video has inspired you to learn a foreign language, another language. Leave me a comment down below telling me what languages you speak or what languages you would like to learn. And I will see you next time. Bye.